Growth Engine, the podcast that dives deep into the journeys of business owners and CEOs, exploring their growth, their struggles, their mindset, and their current activities, all while highlighting how AI is shaping their future. I'm your host, Troy Gibbons, and today we have a truly exciting guest, from founder of Intelligenic, who is at the forefront of AI integration and software development. We're going to kick things off by talking about the most exciting projects Noel is working on right now. Then we'll dive deep into his personal journey and mindset shifts and exploring how he's leveraging AI in his business today. And then we'll cap it off by getting some actionable advice for all of the aspiring entrepreneurs and business leaders out there. So before we get started, welcome to the show, Noel.
Thanks, Troy. Happy to be here. I'm really excited to have the conversation with you.
You betcha. So before we get started here, do you want to just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company?
Yeah, sure. So I am the founder and CEO of Intelligenic. Before starting the company, I had more years than I care to admit in software engineering, from hands-on keyboard work to managing teams, building the software solutions, to ultimately being responsible for the business, all of which was from a consulting perspective, helping many different customers in many different industries with their business problems and applying technology to solve those business problems. And all throughout my tenure in my career, it had become very apparent to me that there were some pretty significant deficiencies in how we delivered software. First and foremost, we just never had enough qualified people to meet the demand for all the software that we were being asked to build. And we didn't really help ourselves because when you look at the process itself, it was pretty highly manual in nature. Even now, with the use of artificial intelligence and its prevalence, we're not taking full advantage of its capabilities to really get the productivity that we're looking to get out of it. And so those inefficiencies led to long delivery times and lots of costs. And oftentimes we just ended up with software that just didn't really align with the stakeholders' needs and was, not of the greatest quality. So I recognized that I needed to do something about it, and that's when I decided to start Intelligenic. So at Intelligenic, we're not offering consulting services. We're actually building an artificial intelligence platform that automates the software development lifecycle from beginning to end. We generate enterprise context that we offer to our agents so that our agents can produce production-ready code with minimal iterations. So we're effectively enabling vibe coding for the enterprise, although I like to call it spec coding. It's all about the context and the information we're providing, the guidance that we're providing to our tools so that we can build much more than simple applications and prototypes, but we can actually build the complex applications that enterprises are creating day in and day out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before this podcast, we had a conversation, and you mentioned a significant commercial release coming in 2026 for you guys. Can you tell us more about that and what you're focused on?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been heads down working on that. Prior to this commercial release, we have had the product in market. We've been sharing it with a select group of the individuals that are on our waiting list. The waiting list, by the way, is at over 1,000 people, which is just really a huge testament to the interest and demand for our platform and solving these enterprise problems. So we've had it in market, and we've been using that opportunity to gather feedback from those people so that we can adjust and modify to get closer and closer to product market fit, which we believe we're on that path right now, and we're about to make this commercial launch. Actually, this week is the plan. And when we do, we're going to make it available to the well over 1,000 people on the waiting list and the nearly 1,000 additional leads that we've been able to identify through the course of late last year. And so we've got a great platform ready to be made available to a lot of very interested people. And then from there, we're going to expand and make it available much more broadly.
Wow, that's exciting. Yeah, big week for you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited about it for sure.
Yeah. So how do you see this platform changing the landscape for businesses, especially those that might not have like deep AI expertise themselves?
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's a lot of press, obviously, on artificial intelligence and how it can enable people to be much more productive. A lot of people are afraid that it is this potential great job destroyer or this existential threat to humanity. I'm here to share quite the opposite. I look at it much differently. I look at artificial intelligence as a great enabler. It's, I believe, the greatest force multiplier that humanity has ever seen. And it will be able to provide people that are performing their tasks that are using artificial intelligence to help them with those tasks to be that much more productive. I think that it's not out of the realm of possibility to see a 10x return from the use of these tools and these models. In our particular case, it's no different. The organizations that have attempted to use artificial intelligence to build applications have had a varying range of success and potentially some failures. The successes have come in the form of being able to create really simple applications and prototypes. It does that really well. There are a lot of tools in the market right now that can help people do that. But the second you try to get into creating anything complex, the problems that occur from it compound immensely. And there's a lot of reasons for that. First and foremost, to get anything of quality or relevance out of these tools, you need to have deep expertise. I find the most successful people at getting anything of relevance and quality out of it are those engineers that have many years of experience, that know what quality is, first of all, when they're building their code without AI, and they know what sort of instructions they need to provide to the models. These are the prompts and the context, the information about their organization, the application that's being built. In lieu of that, any other people that are trying to use it without that information, they have significant challenges associated with that. Our platform fixes that problem. We help those individuals in defining that context about their application, about their organization, and about what they're attempting to build. We then combine that with our own proprietary information related to best practices and how to produce the best possible outputs from these models that allows us to create this contextual mesh that gives these models the information they need to be able to create code with very few iterations and gets them closer and closer to that end state for them. So it's a pretty powerful combination of things because we look at the whole range of things. We look at what are the requirements? We look at, all of the materials that you would typically need to produce leading up to creating code, whether that's a product requirements definition, a user flow, wireframes, the markdown files that are typically consumed by these models to produce code. We create all of that stuff ahead of time, and that becomes the context that our agents use to produce. The other thing that we do that's very unique is that we don't try to really break the workflow that enterprises are used to. Typically, most organizations, when they're trying to build software, they don't just come in and say, go build me a banking app that's going to integrate with my partner's banking app. That's not going to work. It doesn't work. You're going to get something, it'll look pretty cool and fancy. It'll have these great screens and everything, but you would never do that in a true software development organization. You break it down into a manageable chunk, probably getting down to the level of a user story, and then you'd go assign that to a developer. And that developer would go produce code based on that user story. We do the exact same thing. Why would you do anything different? If you're not going to do that to a human and ask a human to produce something that's got this massive scope, why would you do that to the model? The model effectively is just a digital human. And so we follow those similar types of best practices and processes so that we can break what we're trying to accomplish down into a very manageable chunk of activity so that it can produce a much higher quality output as a result.
Yeah, and I like what you said earlier about how AI, you look at it as more of an enabler, right? Like I kind of look at it too as it's almost like an employee, right? Employee does something, they mess up, they don't do it correctly. You show them how to do it correctly, fix the problem, let them do it again. I mean, I think that's the same thing with AI. You don't just plug it in and let it go. You got to adjust along the way, and just like an employee, right? So yeah, I love the how you said it's more of an enabler, not just letting AI just go on its own without that human touch, right? So
that's exactly right. And you always need to have humans in the loop to verify that what's been produced is actually meeting your needs and is doing so with the quality that you would expect. AI doesn't know it. As much as people like to think that it's this amazing, intelligent creation, it really isn't unless you tell it exactly what you need it to do and confirm that what it's done actually meets your needs. You absolutely need people involved to make that happen. And it just makes those people that are involved that much more productive.
Yeah, and just massaging it along the way, right?
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah, so you've been in software development, like you said, your entire career, identifying deficiencies along the way. So, what was the single biggest struggle or pivotal moment you overcame that fundamentally changed your approach to building Intelligenic?
To creating the company, if that's what you're asking me, like what was that? Quite frankly, it was just taking that first step. I think most people experience a lot of fear and uncertainty and doubt, and that was certainly the case for me. I'm like, who am I to think that I can go create this company and go do this, right? And certainly there's a lot of naysayers out there. Don't listen to them, by the way.
Yeah.
It takes that belief in yourself to take that first step. The way I describe it to any aspiring entrepreneurs and founders is that it's like you've stepped to the edge of this abyss and you cannot see the bottom. And you really can't see much, it's just this dark abyss. And you need to get to the other side. And you have to have the courage to take that first step, knowing that you have the skill and the ability to find that foothold that's not going to, allow you to fall into that abyss. And that was no different for me. I was able to do that. I took that first step, and sure enough, I was like, wow, okay, I can do this. What happens if I take the next step? And then the next thing I knew, I found that next foothold, and you just slowly start to make your way across the abyss to get to the other side. But it's a recognizing that you can do it, believing in yourself that you can do it, because you're the only one. Like along the way, you're going to find people that will, but in the beginning, it's all on you, and recognizing that this is the right thing for you, and quite frankly, also recognizing that there's an opportunity there that no one else may be taking advantage of, and putting a plan in place to go execute on that and make it happen. That, like, quite frankly, that is the number one thing that I had to overcome, and that any entrepreneur or any founder, I'm sure, would agree with me and say, yes, that is the number one thing. You believe you can do it. That's what it's going to take to make it happen.
Taking that first step is always obviously the scariest one. So, was there a specific mentor or, a conversation that helped you take that initial step and overcome that fear?
Buy-in from my wife. She's definitely been like number one mentor and advisor through this whole journey. you know, and she's been incredible, having that support. Anybody that's going to try to do it, they need their significant other and their family to be supportive of this, because not only is it a tough journey for you, but it's going to be a tough journey for anybody that's involved with you and close to you. So that was key. But then along the way, there were plenty of people that I started to meet. And what I found that was very refreshing and I wasn't expecting is that there is a community, certainly in Silicon Valley, of fellow founders and fellow entrepreneurs that just want to help. They want to see you be successful. And I believe the reason for that is because there have been others along the way that have helped them, and they recognize that that's kind of the core backbone of what makes entrepreneurs and founders successful is helping each other, to whatever that might be, provide guidance, answer questions, be there as a support network. It's a very lonely journey, so if you really behooves yourself to find people that can provide that sort of support, and they're there. There are, and you just gotta take the time to get out there and network and meet with those people and build that support network to continue to help you be successful, that you can fall back on and ask for their help.
And I remember in an earlier conversation, you mentioned that you joined a group of entrepreneurs just to, have people to talk to, bounce ideas off, and then you're just not feeling alone out there, and you have that support as well.
Yeah, that was huge. The group you're referring to is called Founders Network, and it is exactly the way it sounds. It's a group of like-minded founders that, have had various ranges of success and have been doing it, right? So some have had multiple exits for several $billion, and others are new founders like myself. And it was, and still is, completely invaluable because, like I've said a moment ago, it's a very lonely journey. There's not a lot of people in the universe that are doing what we're doing, creating companies from nothing, and turning it into something that is valuable to those that might benefit from the product and everything. And so to have the ability to access this network of people that have been there, done that, it's incredible. They answer questions for you. They act as a support group. There was one time a couple of weeks ago, I got together with one of the fellow founders, and we really just, it was kind of like a commiseration session. We were talking about the challenge we were having, and There were definitely nuggets that come out, but that's helpful too. You can just have the ability to do that. Because like I said, there aren't a whole lot of people that have the same kind of experience. So to be able to do that and have that shoulder to lean on, that's incredibly useful.
Yeah, and I think saying that there's not a whole bunch of people doing it because with social media and stuff today, like whatever if you're googling it or talking about it, it seems like that's all that you hear is that specific problem or that specific thing. So it's all of a sudden when you get in that world, it might seem like there's a lot of people doing what you're doing, but in the grand scheme of things, yeah, starting your own business from nothing is a huge thing. So yeah, that's really
Totally. And people often look at you funny too. It's just not the norm. Like in well, certainly in the United States and most countries these days, the norm is, go get your education, gain a skill, and then go get a job and work for somebody, right? And then build your career by doing that. Like that's what's promoted, all the way through your early days and university and everything like that. It's very rare that there are actual programs and support groups that would say, why don't you just go create your own company?
yeah.
There aren't too many of those things out there. So when you tell people that, they're like immediately like, wow, you're doing that. You get one or two reactions. You get like a massive support if they know you well. They're like, I love that you're doing that. And a lot of times you get naysayers. And I think you get the naysayers because I think people are just like, it's projecting their own fears of uncertainty and doubt, right? They're like, well, I'm afraid. There's a way I can do it. How can this guy do it? Like, you know what I mean? And so you have to kind of pick and choose the voices that you listen to. It's always good to get critical feedback on, don't get me wrong, but also recognize whether it's truly critical feedback that's valuable or if it's just noise, and being able to shut out the noise and use what's most useful for you to continue on that journey to get to your ultimate goal of building the company, taking it to market, getting people that want to pay for your product or services so that you can be a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I think, the fear around what if it doesn't work? What am I going to do? But I think there's a false sense of security as well with, the other path of getting an education, building a skill, working for somebody else. Because yes, it might seem safe that you have a job to go to every day, but at the same time, you don't know what that company's next step is. And for all you know, a month later, you could be let go, right? So I think, yeah, it's just a little bit of a false sense of security having, that corporate job or that 9 to 5 job too, right? So
100%, 100%. No one's entitled to that job.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So you owe it to yourself to be the best that you can be and perform at the highest level possible to ensure that you either have that job, or if you've taken the path that I'm taking, you're going to build your own company where you have that control and you do whatever you possibly can to make that successful.
right on. So beyond building, an AI driven platform like yours that's currently using AI in its day-to-day operations, especially in areas like growth and customer, or sorry, are you using AI in other ways, like in your day-to-day operations, especially for like growth and customer acquisition?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first and foremost, to build our platform, we've used AI. So everything that goes into our platform, from an artificial intelligence perspective, like the actual technology, as well as the processes that we've baked in, to our knowledge base to make that happen. That's all based on our experience in building the platform. So that's, we're effectively drinking our own champagne when it comes to that. On the Intelligenic Product Studio platform, yeah, we use AI in many different ways. One way in particular is around helping develop the content that we use for content marketing. I'm a firm believer in content marketing. The more information you put out about the industry that you're involved in, the solution that you're working on, it demonstrates expertise and relevance, that sort of thing. And you can do so in a way that's not overtly salesy and like you're trying to market to people. It's just like, hey, we're going to talk about how you can use artificial intelligence in software development. But that takes a lot of time and effort, and we try to do it on a regular basis. And if you're going to be successful with content marketing, you do need to have a regular cadence. At the very least, you're pushing some sort of content out on a weekly basis, right? If not multiple times per week. With a lean team, which ours definitely qualifies as such, it's tough. Well, I have an agent, that I work with. It's an artificial, human that helps me write a lot of the content that we use to, as part of our content marketing strategy. That's one way. We use it for analyzing data about potential customers and the feedback that we get from the people that we've shared the platform for. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. The way that I always describe it to people is that if you're thinking about using artificial intelligence, the first thing you need to do is don't just randomly use it. That's not going to get you anywhere. Identify workflows that you already execute today that are highly manual in nature. Those are the best workflows to apply AI to. And then you can begin to create a plan for how you would use AI to help automate many of those steps in that workflow. And that's going to vary from organization to organization. But the key is to take a regimented approach and develop the plan associated with it. It's just like any other technology that you might think about implementing. When you look at what causes technology initiatives to fail, it's lack of planning and lack of alignment within your organization and your stakeholders. This is no different. So treat it the same way you would with any other technology initiative and ensure that you have a structured plan for how you're going to use it and you identify key workflows that will benefit most. And that's how you would start using AI to improve the way you'd operate as an organization.
Cool. Yeah. So before we wrap up here, is there any more, like one more piece of actionable advice you would give to an aspiring entrepreneur or business owner out there who is, maybe has just started and looking to scale? Or
Yeah, definitely. If you're not using artificial intelligence, start using it today. We haven't seen it yet, but I am looking forward to the possibility of a one-person company that reaches $1 billion in revenue or valuation, whatever you want to call it. That would be incredible. I'm not sure it's possible, but we certainly have the tools at our disposal to make that work. But look, there is so much you can do now with a small team. I think back to when I started my career and building some of these technologies and how long it would take and what it would cost. Because we're using artificial intelligence, it has completely changed the game. When we got really focused on building our product, we were able to build it and get it in market and get people using it in 6 months. It was just unheard of several years ago. So my advice to anybody is that it doesn't even matter what the business is. It's just figure out how you can use it to automate the tasks that are pretty manual for you. If that's bookkeeping or if that's like outreach to potential customers or if that's content marketing or software development or whatever. There's a lot of different ways that you could do it. And it is a huge, incredible tool that you can use that's going to help accelerate your ability to build your business and take it to market.
Yeah, so much good advice here. No, it's been awesome. So just before we sign off here, where can people find you or find information about your business?
Yeah, please come visit us at Intelligenic.ai. So when you think about Intelligenic, think about intelligence and photogenic combined into one word. And when you do come to the site, you'll find all kinds of great information about the company, about our company, or our product studio. And then we've got a lot of that content that I mentioned about artificial intelligence, specific to software development, so you got to have an interest with that. And then you can go sign up for the product and try it. We'd love to have you do that. We're about to make an official commercial launch this week. So come on over, try it out. Tell us what you think. We'd love to have you be part of our community using the product studio platform that Intelligenic has created.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Noel. And thank you everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you for the opportunity, Troy.